Okay, we're recording. Okay, so I'm going to start the meeting. We spoke with the city attorney's office, and it was determined that the process that was used to select the vice chair was not in conformity with the bylaws. So the way the bylaws go, if in the absence of the chair, the vice chair presides. Since we don't have a chair or a vice chair, then it falls to the secretary, which is me. So what I'm going to do is, according to Article 3, Section 3 of the bylaws, we're going to nominate a temporary presiding officer. And that presiding officer will proceed over the meeting until we get to the section in our agenda where we're voting where we're nominating and electing a vice chair. Okay, understood?
Now, you're electing one of the commissioners to run the meeting today, and then we're going to vote for a vice chair before we vote for a chair?
No, this comes from the city attorney's office.
Okay.
Okay, so right now, according to the bylaws, Article 3, Section 3,
Right.
we need to elect a presiding officer so that they can preside over the meeting up to the point to where we elect a vice chair. Once that vice chair is elected, they take over the meeting.
But my question is, why would we vote for a vice chair if we don't have a chair?
Because it has to be on the agenda,
Right.
and so we cannot put that on the agenda until next month.
Why don't we use the presiding commissioner to rule for the next 2 months till we
Because
get
that's
a
not in
chair?
accordance with the bylaws. That's not how it is.
Okay.
So, with that said, are there any nominations for presiding officer, just until we get to the part of the agenda where we vote for the vice chair?
I nominate Robertson.
Roberson?
Robertson.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Are there any other nominations? No? And you accept?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, is it safe to say that it's a unanimous vote?
Yes.
Okay, you are now the presiding officer until we get to elect a vice chair in this meeting, and so you can now take over.
Thank you, Susie. I call this meeting to order for Public Safety and Human Relations Commission. Commissioner Guzman, do you mind doing the Pledge of Allegiance?
I gladly will do. Everyone, please place your hand right over your heart as citizens that we are. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Commissioner Sims, do you mind doing an invocation?
Absolutely. I want to just thank everyone for being here. It's an honor to be at my first commissioner meeting today. Thank you so much. Today I believe that we're going to be able to get down to some strategy, and I'm excited for what we all will be able to add to the table. I feel like the city is in a great place, but it's going to take every single individual, not just one of us, not just two of us, but everyone working together. And I believe that if we stay on that track of mind, then we'll be okay.
Amen.
Amen.
All right. Susie, can we have roll call?
Yes. Commissioner Guzman,
Present.
Commissioner Kelly,
Here.
Commissioner Walters advised of his absence. Commissioner Carrillo,
Here.
Commissioner Roberson,
Here.
Commissioner Cervantes,
Here.
Commissioner Sims,
Here.
Commissioner Canaz,
Here.
and Commissioner Simpson.
All right. Do we have any public comments for items listed or not listed on the agenda?
No, we haven't.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from our April 10th Public Safety and Human Relations Commission regular meeting?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Commissioner Kelly,
Yes. I'll second.
second by Commissioner Cervantes.
May I just say something?
Yes.
It was noted that your name, Commissioner Roberson, was left off of the list at the top of the agenda, minutes, and I will correct that.
All right, thank you so much. Now we have presentations for, number one presentation, continuance of homeless encampment statistics.
Excuse me, Commissioner Roberson, you need to take a vote on
I'm
the
sorry.
approval of the minutes.
My apologies. Can I have a motion to approve the draft minutes from April 10th?
I think there was a motion.
Yeah, there was a motion
Okay,
and
I'm
a
sorry.
second. We just
Second.
need a vote. We just need a vote.
Just need a vote, right?
Yep.
Can I have a motion to approve the draft minutes for, I'm sorry, can I have I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Can we vote to approve the draft minutes for April 10th?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Now we have can I get a motion to open presentation for a continuance of homeless encampment statistics?
Do,
That-
We
that
need a
is
motion or is it
No,
just a
no,
presentation?
no,
Sorry.
it's just Mr. Salinas.
So thank you again for inviting me to come back. I think it was 2 meetings ago you had asked for an update on some of the statistics for homeless encampment. I know there's some new faces here where I wasn't here last, or I've not seen everyone that's been here before. But I wanted to just again clarify what this is about. And again, this is going to be brief, but it does provide some of the information that was requested at the first meeting that we had, where essentially I provided a quick background on this. So I wanted to emphasize that this is still a program that it's in its infancy. It's still being developed. It is not fully enforced. So please keep that in mind when we go over these statistics. And if there are any questions at the end of this, I'll be more than glad to refer to the first briefing that we had, I believe about 60 days ago. So we'll just wait for the slide to go to the second slide.
I'm sorry, this is giving me.
So essentially what I'm going to be providing today is just a quick staffing update, and then we'll go into the statistics for this. And it'll be a little bit more of a breakdown than what you saw 60 days ago. This will actually break it down by ward, and then I want to have a conversation about some of the hot spots where we specifically have issues. And in these hot spots, we'll also take a look at what I'm classifying as re-encampment, so that the statistics that I'm providing you make a little bit more sense. Next slide, please. So a little update on our staffing. We have now been able to hire a supervisor that is dedicated solely to the homeless encampment cleanups. We also have a lead worker that's been hired. Vertec continues its support with about 6 to 8 employees, and our admin support remains at 2 at this point. Some of the maintenance workers, which is where we're having a little bit of an issue trying to hire people, because we've actually lost some individuals. We're currently 3 of 8 hired, but we're hopeful that we'll be able to hire the remaining workers here within the next couple of months. Next slide, please. So the statistics. So today's a significant date because we're showing that we're at 1996, but it doesn't include today's data. We have at this point hit 2,000 encampments cleaned up since this program was transitioned from PD to Public Works. So I think it's rather significant that we've hit that mark so quickly. The daily cleanup locations has gone up from, I believe, about 748 last time around, or somewhere around there, to 1,013. I want to emphasize again that when you see this statistic that shows that we have nearly 2,000 camps cleaned up, this accounts for a lot of re-encampments. We'll still count these as a camp that's cleaned up because after all, we are cleaning it up again. Next slide, please. So I think this is some of the information that was requested last time, which was a breakdown of the cleanups by ward. And you can see where these figures are at. Some of these numbers, if you add them up, you're probably going to ask yourself, well, wait a second, these don't necessarily match up to the other slide. And part of that is because this is based on our CRM system, and this includes some information before we took over the program. In other words, there's some of the information from what PD had done before. So some of the hot spot locations, and I don't think this will come as any surprise to anybody in this room, include Paris, Hill Park, Meadowbrook, and then you'll see a few other spots that I basically indicated on there. And I want to talk a little bit about Paris Hill because of the challenges that we have there. We will literally have encampments that we will clean out, and literally within hours, those encampments will come right back. And it has been incredibly challenging to continue to do this and to just see it basically resurface again. The same issue is for some reason happening at Meadowbrook. We're not 100% sure. Maybe the outreach team who will brief after this can perhaps have their theories about why that's occurring. It's possible that the reason that these camps are resurfacing there is because there's outreach services that occur in that area, or they're closer to services that are being provided to them. I know today when I was essentially driving around, I noticed that there were some individuals providing sandwiches and food to them, and it could possibly be that. But again, that's just a theory of mine as to why this is happening. But I think it's very significant to see the differences in the hot spots. It's not just in parks. We have, I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with where the old Smart and Final is on 490 North D Street. That's a problem for us. We continually have, encampments that basically re-encamp there as soon as we clean them up. Wall and Baseline tends to have issues, and then there's there's really an alley on Bell Street near the Walgreens, that little area. That tends to also be a hot spot for us. And it's interesting because we've had a lot of weeds that have grown, and for some reason with all these weeds that are out of control in some of these areas, we're noticing that there's not so many encampments forming in those areas. So some of these hot spots have, I guess it's just a result of that happening, where now there's not as many re-encampments in those locations and they've moved on to other places. So, I want to pause here and ask if there's any questions about these statistics, either by ward or by the hotspot locations, because I want to make sure that everyone understands that these are where we have the majority of our issues, and it's probably the most visible areas where we have the re-encampments, especially. Yes.
I just wanted to clarify. So you guys prioritize the cleanups based off a CRM request, or just prioritize based off the hot spots?
It's a combination of both. We know where the hot spots are, so we're going to go there every week. But we do base it primarily on our CRMs. So if the CRM comes in and says, hey, this is urgent, I just noticed this, especially if they start saying, hey, there's feces, there's biohazards, there's all sorts of other things, that will become a priority for us. So.
And this operation, it's Monday through Friday. What are the hours?
It's Monday through Friday. We start at 6 a.m., but we're actually restricted. We can't start until 7:30 a.m. And the posting requirements that we have, and I had mentioned this during the last meeting, we have a 3-hour window to do this. So as an example, if we say we're going to go clean up Paris Hill as an example, we have to put a 72-hour notification. And then the time frame that is specifically noted has to be a 3-hour time frame for that specific day. In addition to that, it has to be after 7:30 in the morning. So it always has to be a 3-hour window. Now, we'll go there, we may finish sooner than the 3-hour window, but we essentially have to abide by that.
Is this like a ordinance, a law? Who dictates this?
This is part of the agreement that we've had with the ACLU, but I think it's also something that's commonly understood because of the Boise case, that's basically the model that we should follow. Although it's interesting because today, I think it's headline news, there's an article about what's going on in Phoenix and something called the Zone, where they're actually cleaning up and there's a possibility that that might be used as a separate precedent for this, so. But yes, in answer to your question, that's exactly it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Now,
Councilman Kerr?
above the 72-hour, is there not another 24-hour above that?
So there's a 72-hour notification for them, and that's essentially, if they're there, and they typically are. If for some reason they aren't there, and you'll notice that they have their belongings are basically there, then we have to post a notice basically saying, hey, here's some unattended stuff, you've got 24 hours to basically remove that. It's not something that we run into very often, but every now and then we will face that.
Okay.
It's also possible that sometimes they'll ask us, hey, I can't get this stuff out of here right now, so can you please accommodate us? And we typically will.
Councilman Kelly?
I have a statement, I don't have a question. I live about 2 blocks right around the corner from that park, so I know what's going on over there. I see it daily when I drive through the neighborhood, and I live in that area.
Sure.
My concern is with the senior center there. I know the nonprofits have been feeding the homeless out of the senior center. And the YMCA has been allowing them to come in and take showers. And I know you have a mobile shower that goes there, I don't know how many times a week or a month that goes there for them. So they have food, showers, and other services. And in fact, I think it was the last weekend, I drove by with my sister going to dinner or lunch, and somebody had strewn clothes all along 21st Street, a large pile of clothes for them to go through. So they're, how can I say, they're being enticed to stay there by the services being offered there. And then when you clean the park, I've noticed they go to the curb with their tents, and as soon as you're done cleaning, they're right back. They don't even go anywhere. They just move out and move right back in. And when you move them back, and when they come back in, they seem to multiply after that point.
Yep, and that's exactly some of the challenges we've had, because we've literally seen them just go to the sidewalk, and then they'll basically come back.
Mhm.
And unfortunately for us, you actually have to repost again, which is something that we've been trying to get a better legal read on to see if that's a requirement. Do we really have to go repost if they come back to the exact same area literally within hours? And I think there's a little bit of a difference of interpretation for it. The real strict one says, yes, you have to basically post again. So
But
you're there.
that's what I have noticed living in
Yes.
the neighborhood. So
Thank
and I'm
you.
sure you guys have heard this before.
No,
so
but that's actually a little bit helpful. I think we've just come to the realization that that's probably what's happening at Paris Hill,
Yep.
where there's a lot of outreach services, and that's basically where they're going to stay.
So we have Commissioner Cervantes and Commissioner Sims. Okay.
Okay, so my question is, when you're out there in that 3-hour time frame, do you have PD out there kind of helping, or is it just?
So part of the agreement with the ACLU was that PD would not be involved in enforcing or being part of any cleanup. But we are in contact with PD because one of our staff members has already been attacked. There's actually been a couple of our staff members that have been attacked. So as a result of that, I've requested that they at least be in the area, but they are not part of the cleanup operation, which was, I think, what was happening before, and I think that's what they took issue with, so.
So I think I rephrase it. I know they weren't part of cleaning up, but I'm hearing from, I had a doctor come to my door today, and she said she is at St. Bernardine's. She says when they're having anything there, she said that they're being, people are being threatened and attacked. So I know they're not cleaning up, but do we have something set in place? So if you're cleaning up, let's say, and you're moving them, some of them get a little bit upset. I see they're yelling and they're throwing buckets. Do we have police, like you said, they're closed, to kind of deal with that aspect of disrupting? Because it's like you're going into their space and they're very territorial. They don't want you there. And then when you start moving them, they get kind of a little bit, I know what I've seen, they get a little violent and they start yelling at people there that are not even part of the situation.
Sure.
That the safety of the community, because that's being a commissioner in my neighborhood, everybody knows where I live, everybody has my phone number. So I had people come just for the meeting at my door and they're like, what are you doing? What are you guys doing about this? And I tried to explain the ACLU officers can't be involved. Their concern is the safety of people walking through there, the water park's opening, kids that are coming from Pacific High School, kids that are walking from Parkside and Golden Valley that have to walk to those apartments there when you cross over by Starbucks. There they walk and they live there. They're concerned about the safety and who's there to protect the people that have to walk through there. There's no other route, there's no other choice. So I think that's the issue. If we're going to have them there, and they have to be there, and there's nothing legal we can do to move them, what are we doing to make sure that nobody's getting hurt? That's
So to your question about, the police presence that we have, I've specifically pinpointed some of these hot spots because these are the areas that I do ask PD to, hey, at least be around. You don't have to be part of the cleanup. So we have had issues where we're able to contact them on the spot and they're literally within, 100 yards or so. So they're able to help us out. And in some instances, they have arrested some individuals because basically they either attacked us or threw something at us, or maybe there was even no warrant for their arrest. So again, they're not part of the cleanup operation, but they are available to us, especially in these hotspot locations.
I had a quick question. So you mentioned when you first started your presentation about the numbers, how you guys will count the re-encampments
Yes.
multiple times. How many times before you stop counting those re-encampments?
We don't. I mean, we're just basically counting the re-encampments because as far as we're concerned, it's a cleanup again. So,
So with that being said, so that 1,993 could be you being at one location 70 times and you account it every single time?
would you mind going back to the previous slide? I think?
Yeah.
Or actually, it's in your. So the locations are at 1,013, if that makes sense. So at each location, we actually have camps. So you might have, as an example, Paris Hill will have upwards of 15 camps at that location. So where you see that it says camps cleaned up, those include, what we find at those locations. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
In other words, so that's why I like to kind of break down the information, because if I just came here and told you today, hey, we've only cleaned up 1,013 locations, well, that's not really going to be too helpful. I think it's better to present it in terms of how many camps have we cleaned up. And I can tell you that Meadowbrook and Paris Hill, easily 15 to 20 camps. There's been some times where we even had up to 25 camps at Paris Hill, and all of them basically have to clear and clean up.
So my question, I got two more questions.
No,
I'm going to stop.
I'm
It's
just
leading
going
to-
to beg to disagree on the amount of tents, because somebody counted one time and they were up to 40 plus tents.
You have, okay.
Yes.
My question is, how have we, and you may have mentioned this in your original presentation, how have we addressed basically engaging them to not re-encamp anymore? Like, what are we doing? Like, if we clean it up once, what systems are in place?
So
to
that's
stop it?
really where the challenge is at, and that kind of goes outside of the scope of what I do, because that's been something that I've basically have asked repeatedly. It's like it's the re-encampments that are getting us, because you almost feel like you're just there. I mean, I don't mean to make a joke about it, but it's almost like we're housekeeping.
Right.
It's like, hey, we're going to basically clean up this area, but we know that you're going to essentially come back. So,
Right.
so that is a challenge, and that is something that is being looked at to see if there can be a different interpretation of it. Specifically, hey, if we've asked you to leave and you come back within hours, do I really need to go post another 72 hours? Can I just basically tell you that, you now need to leave? I think that when you all do your part of the presentation, you're going to maybe get into some of that, which is essentially once you're given the outreach services, once you're essentially told, hey, we have a bed for you, we have a shower for you, and they still insist on staying at that location, I think that starts to change it a little bit, because there can be a little bit more of an enforcement action. But I don't want to necessarily get into their presentations.
Absolutely. And this next question may be for you guys. Have you guys tried to reach out to any community organizations doing the work to try to prevent the re-encampment?
Yes,
So that way you
absolutely,
guys
and
can-
they'll be able to talk about that a little bit more. But I know that I've personally seen the outreach groups out there.
There's one more question, and I want to let you get on with your presentation. Is the ACL, and I don't know if you can answer this, but the ACLU agreement that was entered into, is that a public document?
Yes, it is.
It is.
Yes.
That's
I have a
perfect.
copy of it, yes.
Thank you.
So before we move on, commissioners, please wait to be recognized before you speak. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Correa?
Couple of notes. Jerry Holmes, which runs the YMCA at Paris Hill Park, he will be at the Business Watch meeting tomorrow at 10 o'clock on 180 South Arrowhead. So he's got some concerns, same concerns we have. So, and he runs that place, and he's seeing exactly what you're seeing. The other question I have on these hotspot locations, is it critical that we do a CRM? Are you guys just doing general maintenance?
You can do a CRM, but we're already going to be aware of it.
Okay.
I mean, I do my drive arounds virtually every day, and it's basically what I call a self-reported.
Okay.
It's not going to hurt, because it's additional data that we can use, especially if you see something that we may be missing. So it's always helpful to have that CRM that might say, hey, there's something that is dangerous there.
Right.
And in that manner, we can actually contact PD to assist with that. Or in case you see something like a biohazard, which tends to happen quite a bit.
Right.
That's something that's good that we can have essentially, and it's not just us, it's someone basically reporting it. So I don't ever want to dissuade anyone from not submitting CRMs or even areas that are super obvious, so.
But to submit a CRM for Parasail Park, just in general, we drive by and we see 30 tents.
Sure, I mean, you could say.
You're doing maintenance anyway, but I mean, to me, it's redundant. I mean, you got better things to do than look at 70 CRMs that say Parasail's got tents.
Well, like I said, we have staff that deals with this, and we're just collecting this data, so it is very helpful for us because we see how engaged the community is. And a lot of times they will report something that we may not necessarily see.
Okay.
Like they might see someone that was doing something that was completely inappropriate.
Okay.
And so it's good for us to have that document, although I
Okay.
do always insist if you see a crime happening, don't go through the CRM system or contact us immediately. You can still do that, but basically contact PD. So.
Okay. And one last question on the homeless. You said we've got a guy in my neighborhood that's been homeless for 5 years. He's camped at the same place. They clean him out once a week. He comes right back. And I realize that that's just part of it until we get to where we can. I mean, it's horrible. I mean, I can tell you the number of homeless in my area. I know a couple by name, but I know every single face. And every time a new one comes, I know. And it's a tough job because it's just maintenance. I mean, you go in there and you clean them out, and they're back. I mean, it's just hard. And, I sympathize with the people that live around Parasail Park because it's tough. It's tough. And, and I'm sure the PD wants to do everything we want to do, and it's just sometimes they're limited in what they can do. So.
Yeah, I do got a question, and thank you for breaking it down by ward. So my question is about the on and off ramps. Is those stats in conjunction with Caltrans, CHP,
Right.
or how do we get those stats? Because I'm thinking about when I'm driving up to 215 and I'm passing University Parkway and I'm looking over and I see a bunch of tents off the freeway. So how is those statistics captured, or is the city even looking into those?
So I can tell you that we probably have partial data on that because there will be people that will actually submit those to the city, and then the first thing we'll do is to refer it either to the county or Caltrans, especially on the off-ramps. And we actually have some county pockets as well. And sometimes even the city of Highland, there's some pockets that get confused. So we might have partial data on that, but we don't track that as, hey, can you give us that data? I'm thinking they probably do have that data themselves, and we could potentially basically ask them to provide that so that we have an idea, like you're talking about those areas that might be near the freeways or the off-ramps, or potentially even those, county pockets that are within the city limits. So that's a good point. So we'll look into that.
Thank you. Commissioner Correa?
With that said, is Highway Patrol, I've been told that some of the off-ramps are jurisdiction of Highway Patrol. That's not true?
Basically,
That is true.
Thank you.
that was actually the end of the presentation, the breakdown of the information. I did have one more couple of things that I wanted to just bring up, even though it's not in the slides, which deals with RVs that might be used as essentially, sort of like illegally parked. That is separate from what we do, even though sometimes you might have an RV that might have a tent that's sticking out of it. So that's more of an enforcement issue when you see that. It is kind of a tricky area simply because it could be interpreted as a homeless encampment, and the ACLU might take issue with someone going there and saying, well, this is just an RV and you've got expired tags, and legally we can probably just say you need to move along, but it gets a little bit tricky. But I wanted to let you know that we don't capture that type of information in what we do, but I believe that probably is being tracked if they're being cited or if anything like that is happening in the location. As far as some of the vandalism that is caused, we also can't track that. I think there's some legal issues with that because it's really just speculation on our part, even though sometimes it may be really obvious. If there's, you have an encampment and you see a fire or you see something, it's very easy for us to say, well, that was obviously a result of that person, but it becomes something that's beyond the scope of what we do with our cleanups. But we certainly do notice those types of things. So.
Commissioner Kelly?
I have a question on the RVs, because again, in my neighborhood, last Sunday, I had an RV pull up across the street, plug into the house, and stay there for a few days, and it had an expired tag. I did put a CRM in. Police department did come out, but unfortunately had moved at that point, but it keeps coming back. I was told by the NICE officer saying that they didn't want to throw them out of the RVs because that'll make them more homeless, and we didn't want them on the streets, which I understood. So you're telling me that if they're on the street with expired tag living out of a motorhome, then we're not touching them, or
I
what do we
mean,
do?
I'm just basically saying that we're not, from our perspective, we're not going to clean that up. It's not something to clean up, and that's something more for either PD to cite them. It
Okay.
becomes more of an enforcement issue.
Enforcement.
Got expired tags, you shouldn't really have this on the street. Then that's, I guess that's what I'm trying to say with that. So
Okay.
it's not that we'll, if there's something around it, I know that a while back, we actually had to, one of them accidentally, I don't know if it was accidental or not, but they basically discharged all their sewage
Yes.
into the areas, so that immediately became a biohazard, and we actually had to clean that up, because that changes things for us. When you start getting into the health and safety aspect of a RV doing something like that, we have to go deal with that, and we have, and unfortunately, we're stuck with the bill, because it seems like it's not, well, it's just the city cleaning it up. Well, it can cost us up to $2,000 to do something like that, and essentially, we're stuck with it because we have to basically make sure that the street's safe.
Commissioner Gutson?
I need clarity in regarding to RVs. My understanding is that the city does have an ordinance about RVs parked on the street. And if there is such an ordinance, I believe there is, how is it dealt with?
Correct, that's more a question for enforcement, and I don't want to speak for them, but if there's an ordinance that says you can't be here, then certainly they can be cited or potentially even towed, so.
I have another question. Do we have statistics on citations when we talk about, open flames? If PD has to be called out, then also after that, if a person, an unhoused person is cited, then is that a cause to let them not come back, right? When we talk about repeat people coming back to the encampments, is that a way that we can not let that happen?
Right, so there's two parts to that. If someone's committing a crime, they're obviously subject to potentially either be arrested or fined, so that would be the first part of it. Whether that's enforced, I guess it's not a question that I can necessarily answer. But regarding, whether we would know that, hey, that person's now been cited and we've been told that if they show up, they can't re-encamp. I don't know that we've ever dealt with that. We certainly have never, told a person you can't re-encamp because, you were arrested or you were fined or anything like that. That's not happened to us yet, and we haven't received any communication from anyone telling us, hey, we have to basically prevent this person from re-encamping, so.
I have one more question.
Commissioner Kelly?
Piggybacking on his statement there, I know that I've talked to several people who have called in about the homeless in fields that have grass in them having open fire. And they were told by dispatch it's either a warming fire or a cooking fire, and they do not dispatch anybody out to it unless it becomes a fire. And I know that's probably not under your preview because you're not the fire department, but that's the experiences that I've been receiving from the people that I've been talking to.
Okay. It's like I'm sorry, I meant to say that it's always helpful to still submit CRMs for these types of things, because that's a method for us to capture this type of information, even if you call, PD and they keep it in their records as well, so.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you.
On the RV, you talk about expired. I mean, I've witnessed at the old Mervyn's, they clean that out quite regularly. When the RV's parked there and they're 6 months expired, they tow them. They immediately tow them. So I don't, definition between expired 1 month, 2 months. They say if it's expired 6 months, they tow them. There is no grace. If it's expired 2 months, I think maybe there's some grace, but I've seen them, and I've seen these people get irate because, you're taking their home, but that's the law. The other question I have is cars. Are cars under the same jurisdiction as a RV? If somebody's sleeping in their car?
Sure. I mean, if you have a vehicle that has expired tags, it's got expired tags. I know we used to have this problem at Seacom, and to some extent we still have it, although it's not locked up because of the gate. that's there, but we would see the same, vehicles there, and they were parked overnight, and, clearly we have ordinances that say you can't encamp, you can't park there overnight, and that's been one of the questions where we've basically been trying to get a better definition, because I think that the argument was that you've set a precedent where you're not really doing anything to vehicles, to people that are in camp, so how can you start doing it now? And I think any reasonable person can make the argument that those are the rules and they're stated, so therefore, we can tow the vehicle or tell them to move, but so yeah, we're aware of that, those types of scenarios.
Does San Bernardino have a place where a person that's living in a car can go and stay overnight? And the reason I ask that is
Yep.
because Redlands, they just did that hotel, that 100 capacity, and they're full. They allow people to drive to their hotel and spend the night in their car. And it's a safe haven, and it gets them off the street. It's good for the public, because at least they're out of the way, so.
Right. In general, at least my experience has been with the cars that we've seen at Seacom, they were never really problematic. It's not like there was, junk around them or anything like that. It's when you start to see the RVs where it really gets out of control, because sometimes the RV is not even functioning. It's just basically, this is where it died and this is where we essentially left it. And then you start seeing stuff form around it, or you'll start seeing the carts that will, all of a sudden pop up, and you'll start seeing other things. And to us, the biggest problem is, again, when there's a biohazard where it's like, oh, okay, we had to basically just, discharge the sewage, and it just becomes really problematic at that point. So.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you. We will be back with additional information. As I said, we started this back in September. We're not even quite at the 1-year point, but we continue to collect data, and we should be able to start getting a bit more trend analysis and things that we see. And again, I was hoping that the hot spots will at least be able to kind of provide an idea of where the bulk of the work is for us. So, and I think we're basically next at this point, so I will turn it over to Ashley to give you their presentation.
Thank you.
So now we'll have our next presentation about the homeless program update.
Hello, everyone. Commission. My name is Ashley, and I am the Homeless Service Coordinator for the City of San Bernardino. I am here under the Housing Department, under Cassandra Searcy, the Deputy Director of Housing and Homelessness. So today I'm going to give you an update from a previous update back in January about where we're at with our projects. And I just want to go ahead and set the overall tone that it's not going to be one department that fixes the problem, right? It's going to be an ongoing proactive thing. So Ernesto's team is doing great work out there right now. I work with the DROs, and they're doing great work out there right now. It's not a secret, there is an agreement, so it kind of ties the hands of the enforcement side, because they saw that there was a city with no services being offered. So that foundation was not there in our city. And that's what the housing department is really focusing on, building that foundation, that we have services in our city, that we are offering them, that we are capturing data that we are offering them, and it's not just, word of mouth. And that we have the bed availability. We host 40% of the homeless population in the county here in our city, right? And we are the hub of services countywide. So a lot of service providers are here in your city, and people are coming from all over the county to get services here, right? So what we're building is for the city of San Bernardino homeless population. They are going to get that priority 2 shelters once we open those doors. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started, but I just wanted to kind of do a brief little overview. So back in January, the update was the city will release an RFP in February in search of a homeless outreach lead operator. So we did release that competitive RFP. We got some really good applicants, and with purchasing, we did the scoring, we did the interviewing, and we chose a very great provider that we're going to welcome into the city. It will be announced on May 17th, and they are already working really hard to get everything in the back end going, so June 1st, they could be boots to the ground. If you refer to attachment 1, you could see the logo. They've already made for our city, and that distinct look that they're gonna have across the city, covering 66 miles, 5 days a week, with a staff of 8 dedicated to the city only. Okay, so we were really big on, we want a distinct look, that they're out there every day, engaging with our homeless population, building that rapport, because it does not take one interaction. It can take multiple interactions from different city levels. Okay? And then, so May 17th, that announcement will come, and they will be boots to the ground come June 1st. They will work cohesively with our Ernesto's team, as well as our DROs. So the goal would be for us to do the services first, ask them if they would like some help, and then the cleanup, and then the enforcement would kind of like a conveyor belt.
Commissioner, Rob, do I go through you for a question or two?
Yes.
Okay. Can I answer?
Do you mind
Yes.
if I finish and then we can take them at the end, just so I don't
Two
get off
simple
track?
things.
Oh, go
Can you
ahead.
tell me what a DRO is? and
Oh,
a
that's the district
RFP?
resource.
That way I can
I'm so
understand.
sorry, that's the
Because that's a
district,
common term for you, but I don't have a clue
Yeah,
what it means.
and I'm trying to get better at that.
Okay.
There's all these acronyms.
Okay.
So that's the district resource officers.
Okay.
And
Thank
they
you.
are under the police department. An RFP is a request for proposal. So the council members, they approved funds to go towards street outreach. And so we had to put out a request for proposals on Planet Bids, and then we got those in, and then they review them, they go through the pictures. Okay? So we have not been, waiting for that to happen though. So currently I've been introducing myself to other city homeless coordinators. I've been inviting into our city county outreach teams. The HOPE team, Inroads team is a Department of Mental Health. I've been inviting Salvation Army. They're wonderful to work with. They have a shelter here in the city. They've been coming out with me, and I've been working directly with the DROs. Ernesto's brave. I make sure that I have some of the district resource officers close by because, we are dealing with substance abuse out there. That fentanyl is no joke. So we definitely want a resource officer close by. So about once a week or every other week, we kind of collaborate and we target those hotspots. So we'll get hotspots from the CRMs, from code enforcement or Ernesto, and we'll try to hit them before they're doing their cleanup. That way we are offering some services. And then we are also doing referrals. So people are hearing that the city is making great strides implementing plans, and the council has approved the funding for this. So we're getting walk-ins, people looking for help. We are getting call-ins. To date, we've made 20 referrals to a number of different array of services like crisis centers, rehabs, family shelters, to get their birth certificates. We've had 4 placements so far. Those placements were people who they couldn't find. One person had a voucher waiting for them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, an emergency voucher, and they're like, we've been looking for them for 2 months.
Wow.
And thankfully, we were able to find her. So we've had 4 placements so far. One was a walk-in recently, and we actually contacted the New Coast team that is under the PD, and they their specialty is working with people who maybe could be 5150, are in a mental health crisis. They have a dog to help calm down the situation. She agreed to go to a place called Set Free Ranch, and she loved that no phones were allowed there, and they transported her. So the common thing that homeless have is they're homeless, right? But each person has a very complex situation. So let me go ahead and go on. So we also just finished an emergency relocation assistance program. So yes, we do hold a large population of the homeless, but we do have a lot of low-income families, seniors, people here in our city. So we did have a relocation assistance program that we administered, and we granted 51 applicants $1,500 funding to relocate.
Wow.
We do have MOUs created. So like I mentioned, we host a lot of services here, right? And they serve countywide. So now I'm educating people that I'm meeting and calling in that want to help. There's a process. You need to submit an application with Parks and Rec if you'd like to give food out. There's insurance liabilities. I'm educating them on the steps to go ahead and do that if they would like. We do have MOUs in place with Paris Hill Park and I might be saying it wrong, Succumbia Park, and where they are giving mobile showers right now and also resources. Now, I have attended myself in person just to see the layout and the operations. If you want to go ahead and go to attachment 3. So attachment 2 just shows some pictures of some outreach. Attachment 3 shows the mobile showers. Okay, so Pastor Jones, along with Loma Linda University, they're in partnership. They went about it the right way. They applied with Park and Recs. They made sure all of their requirements were there. And he does run a very tight ship. As you can see, the food distribution is given away in boxes. And I can tell you firsthand, I looked at that line and it was about 80% elderly showing up to get boxes of food. And they actually do not go up to the tents and market that they're doing mobile showers. So I was actually surprised that there wasn't more people in line to get a shower. But when we do, let me go ahead and go on to the next point. We did apply for more funding. So yes, the council has approved a large sum of money to build the development and the startup of our campus, right? But we are going to need continuous funding for operations and to create more for right now. So we're going after an ERF grant, which is for encampments. And our application was for Paris Hill Park. So we should get word this week how much we're awarded. Once we get word on how much we're awarded, we could start a plan on how we could clean up that park. So once we have the beds available for them to offer, and we offer those, then we can work alongside the PD. And if they are not receptive after a certain amount of time, then they can go ahead and come in and enforce any type of ordinance or park hours. But like I said, it's going to take different departments working together to actually make it work. So we have the MOUs with Paris Hill Park, Succumbia Lake, and then we have one pending with CAPS. They're a nonprofit here, and what they're going to do is they're going to create 4 MOUs with sites. So they're not going to be at parks. They're going to be at maybe nonprofits, and they're going to be on their property giving those showers. So not at parks.
MOU.
Oh, that's just a contract agreement with the city saying these are our expectations.
Memorandum of understanding.
Yes. This is our senior analyst, so she knows all the acronyms.
Thank you.
We're also applying for a HAP application, which is basically just another grant for homeless services, and that's going to hopefully help us with operations of our 200-bed non-congregate style shelter that we are trying to get going. Now, we did declare the state of emergency on February 1st. Okay, so the mayor did declare the state of emergency, and the deputy director is going on May 17th to go ahead and do the plan for that now. So May 17th, if you'd like to watch, she'll be presenting on what that plan is going to look like. So February 1st was the declaration, and May 17th will be the implementation plan. And then, last but not least, we need a way to capture this data. So we need to know how many times John Doe was offered services at the corner of 4th Street before he actually was receptive. There is actually some pending case law where someone passed away, I think, up in Sacramento, and their family said they were here for like 10 years. How many times were they offered services? So they were actually suing that city because there was no track record of how many times that person was offered services. So if you go to attachment 4, that's going to show the Esri survey that we just got done designing. And we have training coming up for staff on the 25th, and this will hopefully be piloted on June 1st. So who's going to have access to this Esri survey? It's going to be on city phones, Public Works, the outreach team, the district resource officers, as well as code enforcement. So any city staff working in the field will have access to a survey to capture any type of interaction that they may already have. So we're not trying to add to anyone's workload. We have an outreach team to do screenings and see, how to work with them. This is just any engagement they already have with the homeless population. We now have a way to capture it. I know that was a whole lot.
I do have a couple questions for you. You said you're going to educate, you guys are educating people on the process. So what does that look like? Is it workshops that's being given at different locations throughout the city? Or is it a central location that...
Go ahead.
Thank you. Is it certain locations that individuals have to go to get all the resources and services and information that you guys are providing? And then also, you said you have a staff of 8 people. Is one of those staff members a trained mental health specialist? When we talk about homeless and interacting with different individuals, just wanted to know what that staffing model looks like for your outreach team.
Definitely. So for the city outreach team that we're partnering with, their proposal had 2 drug abuse counselors, 2 peer navigators, which are people with lived experience that are now doing good, and then 2 case managers. So all that have experience in the homeless service field. And then they'll be equipped with 1 manager and 1 supervisor and 1 program manager.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, 1 data entry coordinator.
Okay, and then the education process?
So the education process right now has been through the website. My information's there. If anyone wants to see how they can support the city, right now there's been a lot of excitement with them knowing that there's a lot of plans coming. So I've actually just been getting tons of calls from religious organizations, nonprofits, even business owners, that they want to know how they can help because they want to see solutions coming soon. I did attend one of the Business Watch meetings, and we are looking for opportunities where they're inviting us. We can come and speak, someone from the housing department.
Yeah. So what if we talk about an equity issue, right? What if individuals do not have a computer? So it's no paper materials handed out or anything like that? Educate on the resources of this program?
Of the program to give resources out in the city, or which program?
About the program, the outreach program, because we're talking about you educating folks, right? But you said if they want to get in contact with you, they go on the website and find you, right? So what I'm saying, if they cannot find you, or if they don't have a means of a computer or access to a computer, how can they find you?
So right now, when I go out to do some outreach and I coordinate it and invite outreach into the city, we have a housing department pamphlet that we pass out.
Okay.
So if anyone wants to think about it, I tell them think about it, sit on it. If you change your mind, give me a call and we'll start the referral process to whatever their scenario may look like.
Okay. Commissioner Celeste.
I had a question. I don't know if you mentioned it, I may have overlooked it, but do you have any VA, somebody that has VA information for this? Because there are some vets that are out there, and that, that's hard when we have our vets out on the street. Do we have anything that we can give them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they have different services available for them.
And they have wonderful
services.
They can get a VASH voucher like that.
Okay.
So there are VA outreach teams, and I do have a contact that I invite to come out in the field. Actually, their lead person just got deployed. So when he comes back, we're going to reconnect.
Because they have advocates for them. So a lot of times they'll come out to locations wherever if you can't get the vet to go. So that would be wonderful because we do have a handful of vets out there.
Amen.
Yes.
Yeah, and that would be great.
Right, right.
Commissioner Canals, I'm sorry if I
It's
messed up.
great, thank you. It's great that you guys are building out the Esri platform. Are you guys going to be collaborating with the county, being that they do have the Sheriff's Hope team, and of course we have different county pockets, so some kind of intersect?
Yeah, so I'm really excited because our county with homeless services, they are now expanding to Clarity. And what Clarity is a software that our neighboring big cities use, LA County, Riverside, Orange County. And that is the homeless services software for service providers. So our street outreach team will have an HMIS street outreach project with the county CES.
Now with HMIS though, there's privacy issues, so Esri is very different because it doesn't have all the same information as HMIS and Clarity. So for the outreach teams though, are they going to be using Clarity or are they going to be using Esri or a combination of both?
So their focus is going to be using HMIS. That is so they can be connected to the CES system, the county CES. That stands for the Coordinated Entry System. They will have access to use our city survey if needed to just capture data, but the survey for our city staff is just to do that, capture data as far as demographics. Nothing more than that. So the HMIS system captures what referrals were given, where they were placed, what caseworker is working with that person, their contact info. If there's family willing to help, their info, if there was a meeting. So it captures all the case notes, all the referrals, and then if they're in a project, so street outreach is an actual project, they're enrolled into that project until they're no longer working with that outreach team, because the outreach team then placed them, let's say, in our city shelter. So then the city shelter will have their own project in HMIS showing their plan and how they're doing in the shelter.
And then also for the, one more question. I just lost my train of thoughts.
It's okay.
Go ahead on. No,
Commissioner Sims.
I say you can wait, maybe come back.
Yeah.
I want to say thank you for the way you started the meeting. So it's not going to be one department, one organization. With that being said, my question is, what can the average everyday resident do? What I'm noticing a lot in our city is we have a lot of great organizations. We have a great city council that's trying to work to make sure things are becoming better. But sometimes with communication and language, things get lost. Like, for example, in my contacts, if I'm a pastor, I'm leading other pastors. Usually it's not the pastors that's stepping up, it's the everyday congregants. So how are we giving them something to do? Because usually that's what happens. Like, you go to Succumbee Lake, it's not organizations out there feeding, it's families who just felt the burden to help. So what are we giving them to do to kind of push the agenda forward?
Absolutely. So I had a resident contact me, and she's a teacher. But she said, I've gotten to know some of the homeless near my home, and is there anything I can do to just take them? She wanted to, with her own money, go and make her own hygiene kits. Now, I just felt like her heart was really in it, and I said, you know what, I have some leftover backpacks from our point in time count. Come grab some, and you're more than welcome to take a handful of them. So that wouldn't be an every time instance, because usually if I get a call from someone, a lot of times during the holidays, that want to do something good, I direct them to volunteer at their local nonprofits. A lot of our nonprofits, they run big time, 80% of their staff on volunteers. So I encourage them to volunteer at the local nonprofits.
I think, and this may be a statement and not a question, because I run a nonprofit, and before this meeting, I was like, okay, we're doing a great job. We're feeding 300 people. We're right on 9th and D Street, right? But some of the issues that were brought up in this meeting is like, hey, well, yeah, we're feeding people, but from what it sounded like from the first portion of the meeting, maybe that's working against the problem. You know, so to a lot of residents, they want to help, right? I know families right now that will load their car with groceries and just give them out, but if that's not pushing us towards the mark, I think we may want to think about communication, how we're communicating the initiatives to the community, because in order for them to develop buy-in and ownership for their neighborhoods and communities, we got to have something for them to do, even if it says like, hey, if you want to give out food, go through this process. If you want to help, come here. Because just being a resident, I'm not about to call anybody to feed the homeless. I'm just going to do it, right? But we want to make sure that they understand, like, hey, we understand the heart, we understand the burden, but if you don't do it this way, you can be working against us.
Absolutely. I love that. And we've actually researched a lot of non-congregate style shelters because that's where we're going. And one thing that stood out to us that we loved is that some residents or businesses or churches can sponsor a tiny home. And they go ahead and they their name's there that it's sponsored by so-and-so. And some of the providers that were running those shelters set up, they were funds directly to donate to our provider that's in our city running that shelter. So that was pretty cool.
I was blessed to hear Ashley at the Business Watch meeting. And all these are positive things, but right now what the city wants is they want today. They don't understand that it's not going to happen today. It's going to happen, but you just got to give it time. And thank you for your presentation. The question I have is, where does Patton State Hospital come into this? Everybody's talking that we're going to take homeless and put in Patton State Hospital. Are they at capacity? I thought they were at capacity already.
So I don't have too much information on that, and I don't want to speak of anything that I'm not too clear on. However, I would urge everyone, because this is a national issue.
Yes.
I'm actually traveling this next week to Baltimore to a national homeless conference to see the different innovations that are happening nationwide to bring them back to our city. So when we open that campus, we could, try our best to be innovative. And one thing that we are trying to do is we're trying to move forward. We're trying to be creative. And the governor actually, if you go ahead and look online, he announced something in January. I want to say it's called the CARE Law Act, and he is piloting it with counties. So we would have to research if our county is planning on implementing it. But I did read on it, and it did say that all counties have to go ahead and be a part of it. So that's something we definitely would want to talk to the county to see if they're gearing up for.
One last, comment. I want to comment on Commissioner Sims. I have a heart for the homeless, but I also have sometimes a lack of patience when they don't want to abide. And I used to think, well, I'll give them money, I'll give them food. But what I've learned, I'm a Bible study teacher for 30 years. I have compassion, but I also understand. If I feed them and I give them money, all I've done is give them another day. I haven't really helped them, because tomorrow they're back for another sandwich. Tomorrow they're back for more money. What we need them to do is, unfortunately, not give them any money, not give them any food, and go to you and get the resources they need for they can get off the streets. Because all we do, it's a stray dog. You give a stray dog food, he's going to show up at your door every day. But you're really not giving him a home because you don't want him. You just want to feed him. So I understand your passion. I have the same passion, and we want to help. But are we doing more good than bad? And sadly to say, when I go in another city, I give the homeless money because I want them to stay there. In our city, I don't. And it's sad to say, but that's the key. I mean, these people that don't want help, if they don't have food and they don't have money, they'll go get the help. You just got to put them in that spot. And I heard my pastor here, for compassion for people, but somewhere, I have compassion for my neighbors who get broken in by the homeless. I mean, we had a free program at Emmanuel Baptist Church. We had 80 people up there at 6 o'clock in the morning with their lawn chairs. Yeah. Guess what we did? We cut the program off because we were more concerned about the people that live next to the church than we were people that are coming from all over just to get food.
Right.
So it's just a tough thing, and I just want the residents, and I think the great thing you brought up is communication. We just need the public to know there is things out there. Yeah. I mean, we're too quick to jump on the bandwagon and complain instead of try to find solutions. I mean, and one last statement, I was at Celebrities, and I know Councilman Alexander apologized to what happened to what was her name, Evie, or? Yeah, and I want to piggyback on that. I was there, and I told that owner to get her off the stage. They're attacking her. She shouldn't be answering those questions. And Councilman Alexander, I'll take that just with you, because I should have stood up and said, get her off the stage. So.
Thank you. I appreciate
So
that.
Commissioner Guzman, Commissioner Kelly, and Commissioner Canales.
Just very briefly, two thoughts, please. I'd like to get your thoughts on the issues of balancing mercy and justice, safety and justice and mercy. But before I get your thoughts on that, I am very worried about our city. You mentioned that our city is seen as the hub of services countywide. In terms of homelessness, I am worried that that itself becoming more of a hub, a referral by other cities for their homeless populations to populate ours, to crowd ours in. Mercy, yes, but I'm just worried that more affluent cities have, I know, they have pointed in our direction, avoiding their own efforts to deal with homelessness from their end. It is very clear to me that this has been done in other cities, and somehow we, the struggling city, get all the brunt of blight and all of these services. Have you been able to reach out to other cities so they themselves, within our county, can start something similar? Apply for grants and deal with this?
Oh, yeah, so it's really a common theme in the last few, I'd say 5 years, that now every city pretty much has a homeless service coordinator representative, as well as, higher than that, to deal with these homeless policies and make, implement more homeless initiatives and policies. Also, it's not just our county. I've seen and met people that are from out of state, and they are giving Greyhound tickets to our county, and I don't believe it. And I say, and one person actually pulled out a Greyhound ticket, and it said Las Vegas, Nevada, and so I think it's an issue for sure. And now that there is strong leadership in place, I know that's something they're working on diligently. For example, the chief of police, I know he's been very outspoken about being against homeless dumping, for a lack of a better word.
Yes.
I even was in Willowbrook Park just last week. And as we're approaching a setup, their first words were, the organization that we have, the agreement with, they said, I don't have to move, we can set up here. And then someone walking in upset because he said, I've been at this park for years and it's never looked like this. So it was actually a homeless man complaining to me about more homeless people being brought into the park. And it's very true. A lot of these encampments, they could turn into tent cities, and they have their own council. Yep. And he said, I'm trying to manage my park, and I've seen his passion and his heart, and he's even upset. So it's definitely an ongoing issue. But now with strong leadership in place, I think that it's getting out there that it's not acceptable, and that we don't condone it.
Forgive me for follow-up, can we sue?
I would not be able to give any advisement on that.
I have a copy of the ACLU agreement. My question is, it doesn't expire until August 19th, it looks like, with the signatures on here. How are you going to enforce anything before this cutoff date here, when it expires?
So I
Have you
won't be
guys
able
talked
to give any feedback to that,
Okay.
but I do want to say it goes hand in hand. You can't just have an enforcement part. you know, we have to have our services part, and that's what we're trying to build on our side. So it needs to go hand in hand. Anything a part of enforcement, I can't, you know, really elaborate on.
And I understand, but you're talking about, you know, all these nice things coming up, and you're gonna be enforcing, and you're gonna be doing these steps and stuff. I'm assuming it's gonna have to wait till after August 19th date, when this expires at that point?
So I would not be able to,
So the city council hasn't talked to you about that yet?
I don't know anything about that.
Okay.
And I don't want to give any information that I'm not clear on.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Going back to the emergency funding that you're going to be getting for the encampments, is this going to be similar to what was done last year with the county?
Yeah, so the county, I believe, also had an encampment grant, but the city actually only became aware of it maybe in the last 60 days.
Oh, really? Because they
And-
targeted Paris Hill Park.
Right, and we were not aware of that information. So we're trying to work with them so we can try to ramify if they could get an extension, because I believe it had to be expended by the end of June.
They got funding allocated.
I'm not too sure on the dates, but we are trying to work with them to see if there could be an extension on that grant, to see if we can still try to make use of it in conjunction with whatever hopefully we are awarded.
And then my next question, because many of the teams that are coming online, they're newer teams like Coast and your team as well. Obviously Ernesto's team, that's very specific to the encampment cleanups, but how is your team different from the Coast team?
So Coast is under the police department, and their goal and mission is to reduce calls for service with mental health crisis. So they don't serve let's say, they're not targeted for the homeless population. Because anyone can have a mental health crisis. So their goal is to reduce calls for service. They may have a little bio on the PD website, I'm not quite sure, but we're actually going to be posting them in a newsletter soon that kind of says a little bit of overview about what their specialty is. But of course, a lot of our homeless population have unaddressed mental health issues. So if we could collaborate, we definitely, want to make that connection. So street outreach and engagement is to do just that. So there's kind of like a shift where someone becomes chronically homeless and they're living in the street rather than, let's say, a shelter. And there could be a number of different issues, family, complex issues, substance abuse issues, unaddressed mental health issues. They're, maybe disconnected from their family and they want to reunify, but they don't even know how to get to that step. Or they may be elderly. I have come across a lot of elderly who are just not tech savvy and they need to find a place and they just need help looking for that place. Everything's done online nowadays. So the street outreach and engagement is 100% for our homeless population. And they're there to build that rapport and make connections.
And then being that the county, that's their sole purpose, is to provide resources. And I know someone had brought up like VA benefits. Do you guys have, again, that collaboration with the county?
Yeah, so one thing since I've been working on is building relationships with all the different organizations, all the different providers. And then in the homeless service field, there's constant different changes in programs, different requirements, different staff. So just being the liaison to keep that contact and relationship, attend those county meetings. We're a part of the county Office of Homeless Services meeting, and we're also a part of the smaller Central Valley Network, which we actually been hosting here in this space for the last 2 months, and we're going to continue to host it until August. So we're a part of those county conversations. We're a part of those networking meetings to have that relationship.
Commissioner Sims?
How are we handling the homeless population without documentation? Like those who don't have proper documentation as far as resources and different things we can offer them?
Yeah, that's a big challenge. Some people haven't seen their social securities or birth certificates for years. I had a gentleman who hadn't seen his birth certificate for over 30 years. He's an elderly man. Because I was a city employee, I was able to make that request and make a letter of self-certifying as homelessness. and I requested it from Pennsylvania. And 2 months later, I was able to contact him, and he was so happy to pick up his birth certificate.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's tough because I can imagine like an individual who does not, most, you know, who do not have their documentation, that'll put a hold on the resources, correct? So then it puts a hold on us actually fixing the problem. Got it.
Yeah, and even if we say we find a nonprofit that will pay for their motel stay while we bridge them to a shelter, the motel even requires an ID.
Right.
Yes.
So what I can do is I can call my DROs and say, hey, I need you to verify their identity for me. Because they have that capability, and the motel will take their word for it. So just having those connections and knowing who to call on when you come into those types of those instances.
Last comment, Commissioner Carrillo?
You piggyback on that. When I used to work with the church and we gave out food, there's some people that just, they had identity, but they didn't want to give it out for the simple reason that they didn't want it to be monitored, or maybe they were felons, and they just said, you know, if I won't give you my name, I won't take the food. I mean, and that's real. That really happens, and it's sad. And these are just issues that you know, we're going to address as we go. But
Right.
thank you for your presentation.
Thank
Very
you
thorough.
guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashley, we appreciate it.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much. Now we'll have a staff report from our Public Works Department.
It'll be our traffic engineering associates. That'll be Cara Kitterman and Ryan Castillo. Come on up, guys.
We got called in last minute, so I don't have the actual staff report. What is it, Donna?
Let me just update you. Azam, our traffic engineer, he's actually on vacation for the next 2 weeks, so that's why he's not here presenting. So he sent his associates here who are going to continue the report on the no parking anytime restrictions that are going to be on Marshall and Pepper Tree and Valencia with the residents that were here last time when they were asked for that no parking. They've been working on it for us. So we're going to present that.
For this one, you guys should have attachment number 2, the location map. You can view that.
And we don't have an attachment.
It should be item number 4
No, but he's talking about attachment.
in the agenda. Oh, the attachment wasn't on there. There was an attachment with a map that showed.
Okay.
So on Pepper Tree Lane, I know Commissioner Cervantes is very familiar with that location. So we are restricting parking there as requested by the commission here and the residents at that location.
Pepper Tree runs north-south, and the houses abut on the east side. So most likely we would be putting restricted parking on Pepper Tree, abutting the golf course only, because down on the south side of Pepper Tree, houses abut on both the east and the west side. So we don't want to restrict any parking in front of someone's residence, place of residence. And for Marshall, Marshall runs east-west. Houses abut on the south side, we would be restricting parking on the north side. On the other side, where the golf course is abutting on the north side, because again, we don't want to restrict parking where it abuts a residence. So that addresses the parking restrictions along those streets. Yes, Marshall between Valencia and Pepper Tree, and Pepper Tree on the west side of Pepper Tree, where the west side is the golf course.
Yeah, sorry about the attachment. I know we made one, and I guess, I don't know what happened, but I think that this is kind of simple explanation.
Yes.
There's houses on one side, there's not houses on the other side. The side without houses is next to the golf course, that's where we're restricting parking.
Commissioner Correa?
That's exactly what was discussed by the residents, correct? You're
Yes.
addressing exactly what, so, and we were here, so the new people probably didn't hear that, but we were here and we understood, and you're actually giving them everything they wanted, so that's awesome. And to act that quickly, thank you.
Any more questions for Public Works? Susie, question, we made a recommendation in our last meeting, right, to send this to the city council?
Yes, so that's on the agenda. The recommendation is to have public input, which I don't think anybody stirred up for, but they were here last week, the residents, and they are the ones who requested it. So now it's just a recommendation to the mayor and city council to adopt a resolution directing staff to install the parking restrictions at these locations, these specific locations. So if you guys want to entertain a motion in a second, and
I move to approve.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
okay.
All right. So Susie, for new business, we have to make a motion, right, to open up item 5?
So it's nominations and elections, and you just open it up to elections for the position of vice chair.
So new business, item number 5, I want to open up nominations and election of officer for the position of vice chair for this commission.
I
Chair, do you
nominate
want to
Commissioner
Oh,
Robinson.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You guys can finish this, then, but I'd like to make a statement.
Go ahead, sir.
Oh, okay, so, last time as well, we came, or Azam came and spoke about 40th Street. So the update for that is that we have the finalized design,
Okay.
because before, you guys saw the concept. Now, finalized, we have sent it to operations maintenance. They are the division that will implement it. So I'm not exactly sure the timeline of that one, but it should be, it's on their radar now, and I'll ask them for an update later this week, and then I'll have a better idea of when it will be getting completed.
So Susie, when it comes to agenda items, could we put that on the agenda item? to be
Yeah, we'll
included?
add it to
Okay.
next month's agenda.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Korea?
I made a motion to elect you for vice chair. Commissioner Robinson.
Any other nominations? Now we take it to a vote. All in favor?
Just get a,
No,
Yes, sir.
do
Just-
you accept
Oh,
the
yes.
nomination?
Yes.
Okay, all right. then just get a vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Pass. Thank you, guys.
Chairman.
All right,
Vice Chair.
so, I'm sorry, Commissioner Korea, sorry.
I just want to thank you for filling in today, and I respect the way you ran the meeting, and you took control, and I honor that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Korea. Appreciate that. Item number 6, I know in our last meeting, we added our subcommittee reports. I know our chair was talking about restructuring of our subcommittee since we got 2 new commissioners on our committee, so I will table that until she's at our next meeting about what the restructuring looks like, or does Susie, do you know what she wants to do with?
Well, that'll be the decision of the chair. So next
Chair.
month, we will have the nomination and elections for the position of chair.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
All right.
But this item in particular was your request to
Yes.
add a standing item to the agenda.
Yes.
And so this is your opportunity to explain the reason.
Thank you so much. So we have subcommittees, so we have a subcommittee for Public Works. We also have a subcommittee for Police and Fire. So we have subcommittee chairs for each of these different subcommittees. And what those chairs from those subcommittees will come back and do report out to the overall commission, because we want to make sure we're doing a lot of different work, because we only meet once a month, but we want to make sure these subcommittees are actually doing different work when we talk about from our citizens from our different communities and our respective wards. So we want to make sure we're still always doing work within the commission. So that's why the subcommittee chairs are in place. And that's why I wanted to bring that, because there was a lot of, I can say, communication failures, right, in the past. So I know a lot of our different commissioners have different relationships with police, fire, as well as public works. So we wanted to make sure we kind of funnel the process, that we have one person, and not saying nobody can talk to police or fire, but we wanted to make sure we have one person. You know, if you have any issues with public works, police, or fire, you talk to that sub-chair, and he'll report to those respective departments, and then report back to our commission. Any questions? Commissioner Correa?
Vice Chair, who makes these? Is this the responsibility of the chair that makes these? Okay, that was my question. Okay. And I love the motion where when we get the chair, let them do it. You know, let's just let them do it because that's a part of their responsibility. Awesome. And I like your comment about you know, let's use our strengths. On the other hand, we don't want to put all the strength on one team. We want to divvy it up where all of our subcommittees are good.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes, I have a question. Did you want the reports every month, or do you want it quarterly, or how do you want these reports?
And that's something we can talk about within this, so that's why I wanted to bring it up, if that's something we want to do quarterly or
Monthly?
Monthly, however, so that's a discussion on the table that we can have. Captain Karen?
I just want to clarify something in reference to subcommittees. Those are used more for projects that are assigned to the commission. Every one of you can have my phone number, reach out to me at any time if you have a question about anything. I don't want you to think that if you don't get put on the police subcommittee, oh, you can't talk to the police department, because that's not accurate. You can call me anytime. I always answer for those that do call me. Again, it's just for projects that may have to be undertaken, where there'll be the three folks on that subcommittee can then come meet offline. And that's just to keep the flow moving. If we have to wait for the entire commission, because we have rules with the Brown Act and everything,
right,
it's going to drag these processes out for months. So that was essentially the purpose of the subcommittees. Again, it's just for the sake of getting business accomplished, if that makes sense to everyone.
And if I may add
Yes,
to it, in your handbook, under the bylaws, Article 5, Section 1, explains the subcommittees, or, you know, mentions the subcommittees. It says the commission may establish an ad hoc committees at a notice meeting, which was done previously. And the chair or president may appoint commissioners to said commissions who serve at the pleasure of the chair. So next month, when you guys nominate and elect a chairperson, then, you know, that chairperson can opt to have subcommittees.
Right.
And then also appoint, you know, 3 people, with one of them being chair and 2 being members.
That's not a question.
Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Montes?
So on that, does the chair have to be on one of those subcommittees?
Well, it's 9 members, so
3, okay.
three subcommittees, so 3 members each. One serving as chair and the 2 as members.
Okay. Commissioner Correa?
Comment on Captain Covington. I agree with you that these are just, you know, but on the other hand, if I have a passion for public works, I'm probably going to do a better job if you put me on public works. If I have a passion for PD, you know, and to me, if I'm making these committees, I want to make sure I put the right people in the right place, because passionate people will do a better job. I mean, if you put me on a committee just to put me on a committee, I would never come to this committee if I didn't have a heart to back our PD and to be the liaison for the people in this city. And if I didn't have that heart, I don't need to be on a committee. I want to be, and I take great pride representing the people and our PD. You know, I'm going to back our PD, but I'm also going to back our people. If the people are wrong, I'm going to tell them. And if we got a problem with the PD, I'm going to tell the PD, you know, hey, we need to correct this. And I just believe that passion should be part of the subcommittee, because when you have passion, you do a better job. Thank you.
No problem. And definitely, Commissioner Correa, we can definitely, you know, when whoever gets elected chair, we can definitely express that, that if you're passionate about a certain thing, you can definitely have that conversation with the chair.
Thank you.
So should we, at that point, when the chair is appointed, should we go through and find out what our backgrounds are to find out if we're being appointed to a commission or a committee that we can service? If we have enough background in that area, would that be something to look at?
I think that's,
Great
because
point.
I when I first came on the commission, I was just put on the committee, right? So I didn't, I was a newbie, so I wasn't, okay. But I agree with you. I think a lot of us have expertise in different fields, right?
Yeah,
And we want to make sure, and something I might not know about, public safety or fire, and I want to, be on that committee to see exactly how it works, right? So I think, that's definitely talking about what's the structures. I know we have the bylaws that Susie shared with us, so we'll definitely go by the bylaws, but I think we would definitely have a discussion with the incoming chair as well.
Did you have
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna, one last comment, and I appreciate the passion, but again, I think that's where it makes it hard, because if you have a majority of folks that all have the same passion,
Right.
somebody's not gonna get what they want.
Right.
And that's why, again, I don't want you to take the subcommittees out of context. They're actually rarely utilized. The vast majority of things take place right here on the commission with everyone. I've spoken to everyone that has my phone number, essentially, and like I said, I'll give it to anyone else. I don't want you to think that, you can't deal with police department matters, because that's by no means what that means.
Right.
These subcommittees are rarely used. I want to say I've been a liaison for the PD for about 3 years, and I think I've met with the subcommittee once.
Wow.
And that's what I was saying. I don't want you to, if you don't get put on that, or you do, or whatever it is, I don't want anyone to feel like, oh, well, I'm outcast. I can't talk to Public Works anymore. I can't talk to the police department. Because that's not the intent of it. You represent your area. You can reach out to me about anything at any time for your area and your folks. And that's what your responsibility is. And the same goes to all the commissioners. So again, please don't take the subcommittees out of context. They are very rarely used for anything.
Question. Thank you for clarifying that. And a lot of times, it's just communication. I didn't know that. I didn't know that till you told me today. I mean, for me to complain about a subcommittee that's very seldom used. But on the other hand, I'm the kind of person that, if you got 3 people that doing what I want to do, and I see it's represented well, put me on another one. Because we should have a heart to make the city better, no matter what subcommittee we're at. And that's where we got to be. We got to be in this together as a team to make it better. And we all can't be one subcommittee. We got to take, So, thank you for clarifying that.
I just have a question real quick. Aren't the subcommittees, isn't the information off the agendas coming to a subcommittee for further research? And not basically we're going out there to find things to bring back to a subcommittee? Or did I misunderstand that?
Can you repeat that one more time? I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. Is the subcommittees basically doing research for what was on the agenda? So like if something comes up for fire and I go and talk to the fire department for the commission and then bring back the information, that is what the subcommittee was originally, I thought, designed for, versus me going out and saying, what do you have, and coming back to the subcommittee and creating something. Okay.
That's correct. And again, if each individual has something, you are commissioners, not just at the one meeting a month. You're a commissioner all the time. And at any time you can reach out to Chief Cerner or me or Yura. That's what we're here for. That is, like I said, if there's a project or something that comes from the commission, then the subcommittee, because we can work on the project outside of the commission and not have to worry about violating the Brown Act or anything like that. And they would then come back and present that to the whole commission. Hey, here's what we learned. Here's the findings. Here's everything. That's what Commissioner Roberson's motion was for, or his item that was on the agenda, so that the subcommittee then will come back and report, hey, here's what we learned, here's the information, and that way we can get the business done. It does not, again, I just want to be clear, it does not restrict anyone from contacting the police department, the fire department, Public Works at any given time that anything arises.
Thank you.
And the fireworks ordinance is a perfect example because that took a lot of work. And so it would have been useless to discuss it during a commission meeting because it would have taken months and months and months.
Right.
And instead, the fire subcommittee did all the research, looked into it, and came back with a recommendation for the entire commission.
Great point.
And then it was voted on. So that's the intent and purpose of the subcommittees. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Commissioner Correa?
Vice Chair, I had a question because I'm fairly new. I think this is my third meeting, fourth meeting. And I had a question on a shirt. I didn't want to wear a shirt inappropriately, and luckily I called Susie because she helped me. My question is, if we're representing the city, when I wear my shirt, people ask me what it is. And it gives me an avenue to direct people. When I'm at a city function, and people say, well, what does that mean? And I say, well, you've got a problem with Public Works, Fire, or PD, come to our meeting and address it. It also gives me an opportunity if somebody comes in and says, hey, I got a problem with animal control. I said, well, you know what? Let me give you the meeting for animal control. So is there a guideline to when we can wear our shirt and when we can't? Because, I mean, I'm new and I'm asking that because I never want to wear my shirt inappropriately. But I take great pride in wearing it.
Because I think we had this this conversation when Chairman Elliott was here. I think it was talking about city functions and city meetings like this. This is when you can wear
But
your
also
shirt.
when it's like approved through the board or your appointee, your appointer.
Yeah.
You know, whoever appointed
My
to
council
this
person?
commission.
Correct.
Your council person or the mayor. Yeah.
So my council person tells me I can wear it at any city function, I'm good?
I guess. I don't
Yeah,
know.
because
I
it
guess.
says
I don't know.
I went through that. It's whatever he said. I call him first. Believe me, I went through this. So I call him first. I only wear it when he tells me to wear it.
Right.
So.
Just, if I can, I just want, just a word of caution, just be cognizant of your surroundings when you're wearing a shirt that looks official. Hey, there's certain circumstances that may arise throughout the city that people are looking for someone to be angry
Liability.
at. And you might just have a target on your chest by wearing that shirt, so just be cognizant of that type of stuff.
Any more comments? All right, so we will go to announcements. All right, so we'll go by board. Commissioner Carrillo?
No, I'm good.
All right. Commissioner Sims?
I'm good.
Commissioner Canals? Commissioner Kelly?
Not this time, no announcements.
Commissioner Guzman?
Just one quick update and praise for the city app, Go SB City.
Amen.
It has a tremendous good to my community already. It has, I reported several things, including medical waste, and it was dealt with immediately. And they're also dealing with, as a matter of fact, homeless camps, precisely in the area where it was reported. So that's it. Go SB City is tremendous.
Amen.
Let's promote it.
Okay, guys, I have my shout outs for our fire department. I have Sean. He's going to look him up. April 27th. Look at that date if you can find it. His name's Sean. Every time I don't want to put my personal business out there, but I always deal with the fire department because I have some medical issues. And I always get the fire that beat AMR to my house first. And, you know, sometimes they'll come to the curb and they'll go, oh, you're right. Okay, but this guy is just exceptional. He came to my door. He didn't know who I was. You know, I had a ponytail pajamas. He didn't know what it was. I had my glasses on at night. Didn't want to be recognized. But he was exceptionally, that's the first time I've seen fire. I mean, fire's not bad, but he came up, and then the second time he was called out for me and shake me, he came and goes, wait, the AMR was there, and he said, no, okay, we're okay. They wave him off. Whatever happens, I guess if they beat you there, whatever the situation is, if AMR gets there. So he waits and he goes, no, this is personal. So he comes to my door, and he says, Commissioner, he said, I told you slow down. I told you, he was so nice. And he didn't know I was a commissioner there the first time. But you know what, I've been in the city 5 years in March, and I have fire department in my house all the time. And I've never had such a customer, because I'm like a greeter, I'm like the, hey, welcome, you know, he was like that.
Wow.
And I think that's great.
Amen. I like
Right?
it.
Because
Amen.
we need to, like you said, when I heard you say that, you're new, right? I was like, see, that's me. It's like, we all got to toot each other's horn. We all got to be a team here. So I like that, of what you said about that. We got to work together. Yep. So I have Sean. I don't know his last name. Public Works, the two guys who were just here. Every time we bring an issue to them, they're like, boom, they're in my neighborhood. They're at my door. And it was my neighbors, you know, and that's why he said, oh, Mr. Rogers, you're neighborhood, because they know me, right? They're wonderful, those two guys.
Yep.
They just came out, they show up my door, they say, if you have time right now, I'm here. Wonderful. That's what we need in this city, to show that good side of the city, because we always show as a lot of bad, right? Complaints, and, you know, we do have a good side to our city. We really do, and they work hard. You know, I joke with the police, him and I are like, but you know, they work hard. They work hard. And the ones that don't, believe me, I'm right there. Ask him. I'm like, not gonna work. Senator Rancho. But anyway, but then, you know, because some people just don't fit into our city. It's not Rancho. It's not, you know, Thousand Oaks. I mean, I'm being real. Some people can't fit in your environment, right?
Yep.
So we got to find the right people here. And even people that are from here that love the city, like we do, obviously.
Yep.
Because I know I love my city, my neighborhood. I love the city, and I want it to get better. You know, so I don't want to move. You know, I want to be here. Police, John Schreier. Every time I call him, I don't care what he's doing. He'll be off. Oh, hold on. I'm at the park with the kids for the fundraiser. It doesn't matter. He doesn't tell me. Or some officers I hear, some DRs go, "Hey, it's my day off. I'll call you Monday." It's like, oh, you know, I've never had that happen to me. I never had that happen to me, but I've heard. You know, and mine doesn't. I mean, I always call mine personal because they treat me the same way. They come to my neighborhood. They're like, "Oh, Commissioner, we're a team," you know. And we call each other on what we should and shouldn't do. But John Sharia, he's like amazing. That's why he's councilman. He's amazing. Okay, my councilman. He's been doing a lot because, you know, he gets bashed a lot. But my councilman, he does a lot. He went to the community town hall, held with celebrities. He was there with a few other council members to represent Ward 7. You know, there was a lot of people there. It was a little bit rough. We talked about the unhoused. It's an issue for everybody throughout the nation. He also spoke at the neighborhood meeting and updated 7th Ward residents on the city issues. He attended the Special Olympics for the San Bernardino Unified School District at Pacific High School. Then he attended the Southern California Association of Government, SCAG. Now, I don't know if anybody know what that is. He met in Palm Desert, where he received an award for the city's zero admission policy. He got elected on that board. Wow. Now, we have not had anybody on that board from our county in years. Wow. And he just found that out when he went. So the city of Rialto is getting funds. The city of Palm, all these different places are getting funds, except for the city of San Bernardino. And I wasn't aware of that, but he's on that board now, so now San Bernardino is represented. That's a good thing. He also is hosting an unhoused meeting on May 23rd at 6 p.m. at the Mike Burgers across from the old Crush Chevrolet, it's Diamond Chevrolet. He's having a meeting there to update about the unhoused. Wow. You know, because I guess that's the new term we're using. He told me we're using unhoused, we're not using, you know, I think we're using unhoused. Okay. So he's doing that on May 23rd. So that's what we're doing in Ward 7. And I'm out there too. I mean, you know, I went to the Orange Show. I haven't been there in years to see what's going on in the city. It was calm. You know, I stopped going there years ago, but they had it in order. PD was there on foot. PD there was on bike. I think horses.
They had a couple.
Yeah, they had a couple horses.
Wow.
Calmest event. It used to be rough. Let me tell you, I wouldn't take my babies out there. But we were out there. It was really calm. PD was everywhere. I loved it. It was good. So that's a good city thing we might want to try to do next year, you know. What else was there? Cinco de Mayo. There's a lot of Cinco de Mayo events in the city. That I didn't attend the ones, but there were. And they were calm too. We're getting there.
We're getting
a little bit better, right? So that's my announcement for Ward 7. Okay, guys?
So I have a couple of announcements.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I would like to maybe let the two new people introduce themselves. I mean, they're new and I don't know them, but what I've heard so far, I like them. But, you know, I would like them. Is it okay if they introduce themselves?
Commissioner Sims?
Yes, my name is, of course, Byron Sims. I'm a pastor in the community, been here for 10 years now. My church is on the corner of 9th and D Street, called Kingdom Cultural Worship Center. We really engage with just community engagement as far as organizational alignment. We host a trust and community meeting with all public safety officials once a month. Just to make sure that we're bridging the gap generationally and race-wise, to make sure that we're all on the same page. So yeah, that's me. Oh, I have five children. Wow. I have a newborn who's 6 months. You know, that's the last one. My amazing wife wants one more, and I'm not doing it. But that's,
it is an even number, though.
That's my spiel.
Welcome.
Commissioner Canas?
I'm Kimberly Canas. I am a longtime resident. I don't want to say how long because that will give away my age, but it's been a very long time that I've been in the city of San Bernardino.
I've been there longer.
Yeah. It's short compared to us.
I was a senior field representative for Supervisor Baca, so I was very ingrained in the county. I worked for the supervisor upon his entering into office and recently resigned. I also have sat on the board of We Are the Change San Bernardino, so the Food Fest. I was a co-creator of the San Bernardino Food Fest with We Are the Change.
Wow.
As well started the Vertimont Revitalization Project, so the community center that you see there. I'm very proud of that. We fought for that, as well as bringing movie night back in the parks and things of that nature. So I've been pretty ingrained in the community for quite a few years, and as well have my babies. When people ask me, because I am a little bit crazy, I think anyone that's ingrained in the community as much as we are, you have to be a little bit crazy to do the things that we do. But my reasons are my 10-year-old and my 7-year-old that call me mom. So I'm a mom to two.
Perfect. We want to welcome you both.
Well, yes. Two more things real quick. You called on me first. I didn't have my notes up. Captain, is it okay if we discuss John Echeverria? I think it's okay, but
What on earth would you be referring to, sir?
is he still? What status is he as of today?
What do you mean what status? As far as
What rank? What rank?
He has moved up a rank.
Okay. Yep, he is lieutenant. I know you mentioned that, and I wanted to check before I spilled the beans, but he is now a lieutenant. You know, so.
Scared me. I thought you were going to say he was like leaving or something.
Yeah. I just wanted to be careful because you know.
He's still
Yeah.
He's still, I know he's older.
Yeah, and he's our new area commander, Eastern. So, I mean, great job. And one last thing, I know we had talked about the people that were on the commission before that are no longer with us, and we wanted to do something. Are we still? I mean, we got to put it on the agenda if we want to do something, or how do you suggest we do something? I just feel when we're volunteers and people donate their time, regardless of why they're here or they're not here, we need to acknowledge them. I mean, I really believe that in my heart. When you volunteer for something and you sit on this board, no matter what the reason you're here, you're not here, I think we just can't just kick them to the curb and forget that they ever served. I mean, so I don't know what the protocol is, or can we do anything, or does that have to be outside the meeting, or I'm looking for suggestions to acknowledge people. They're volunteers. I mean, I volunteer my time, and I don't really want recognition. But if you kick me to the curb, I would hope somebody would call me and at least thank me.
Well, the city does send them a certificate thanking them for their service,
Right.
along with a nice letter. As far as a board, I guess if you wanted to do something, you guys would all have to agree to it.
Let me tell you why. I mean, I do retirement parties for PD, and the PD does a nice retirement. They give them whatever, and they kick them out. But when the community does something, to me, God forbid, Captain, if you were to retire tomorrow and the PD did everything for you, wouldn't it be great if our committee got together and said, you know what, we really thank you for being President of the Army? Would that mean anything to you? Coming from somebody that I don't have to do it, we want to do it out of appreciation. And that's where my heart is. You people here are sitting, you're volunteering your time, you're giving up your kids, you're giving up your time. And regardless why you're here, you're not here, I really believe we need to acknowledge these people. That's just straight out passion. Call it whatever you want. I love people. When they serve, they deserve to be recognized. So,
and that can be, if you want to put it up to an item to be considered on the future agenda.
Amen.
Definitely. So just a couple announcements. On Thursday, May the 11th, at Cal State San Bernardino, in conjunction with the precinct reporter and the Black Faculty and Staff and Student Association, we will be having the Stop the Hate luncheon. It will be at 11:30 a.m. in the SMSU South Event Center. Dr. Brian Levin will be the guest speaker. It'll be valuable services provided by the Stop the Hate program, reducing stigmas, reporting hate incidents, and promoting community healing.
What's the address? I'm sorry.
It's 5500 University Parkway. It'll be at California State University.
Okay. Thank you.
Also, too, I want to kind of just piggyback off of what Commissioner Cervantes was talking about. I know a memo went out from me and Commissioner Kelly to Daniel Hernandez, the Director of Public Works, about nominating two Public Works employees that we're going to honor at our next June 12th meeting.
Awesome.
We'll be looking forward to that, honoring two of the Public Works employees. I agree with you, those two young men were just amazing. I got to actually go to work with them one day and sit in their office and see exactly what they do every day. So I definitely agree with you. We have some incredible city employees doing some incredible things here in the city of San Bernardino. So look forward to honoring a couple individuals at our next meeting. So that's all I had. So, yes, Commissioner.
Sorry, announcements. No worries. So for the police department side, there is a meeting tomorrow at 10 o'clock. It's the Downtown Business Watch meeting. It's one of the meetings that was referred to earlier where they were talking, or I believe it was Ashley was talking about some of the homeless stuff. That is tomorrow from 10 to 11 at 180 South Arrowhead Avenue. And then on this Thursday, May 11th, there is a Tip-A-Cop event. So it's been years since we've had one. Obviously with COVID, it kind of put a kibosh on a lot of different things, but now that everything's opened up again, it'll be at the BJ's restaurant in the south end of the city, 1045 Harriman Place. And that's from 5 to 9, Tip-A-Cop.
Is that the first time I hear it? Tip-A-Cop? Tip-A-Cop?
So the police officers and folks from the police department basically will be your waiters.
Yeah. Right.
They'll be going to the tables, taking orders, serving food, and the whole 9 yards. And they're all doing it off duty, volunteering their own time to come in to help support. And I want to say this one is to help support Special Olympics. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's they
Great
get donating
cause.
their time. Just like this last weekend, we did something at a bowling alley where some of our guys off duty again came, donated some of their time, and sponsored and donated some money to. I want to say that one was for Kiwanis for kids or something along those lines. So, and then the last thing from the PD is next week on Tuesday, there is the district-wide Coffee with the Cops. So the Eastern will be at 3251 East Highland. That's, I think he said it was Telecue.
Yeah, it's like a Kalamazoo home.
Perfect. And then the Southern and Central will be combined, and they're going to be at 330 North D Street. That's the Chase Bank building, but they're going to be on the 5th floor. The Western District is going to be at the Juan Pollo at 5th and Mount Vernon. And then the Northern District is actually going to be in an apartment complex at 6155 North Palm.
Didn't know which apartment complex.
Cresthaven.
Cresthaven.
Yes, Cresthaven.
$10 a.m., right?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Item 8.
No, I apologize. It's 9 a.m. 9 a.m. 9 to 10.
Okay, so hello everyone. For the new commissioners, my name is Ahura McKenzie. I'm the executive assistant to the director for the Department of Public Works. So last meeting, there were several items that were still pending that the residents had questions about, and I know that some of you guys had questions about, and I have those answers for you. So I wanted to report on them today, if you allow me. So just to follow up, going by Commissioner Guzman's recommendation about the app, I did take your advice and I did promote it more on our website because previously, or at least on the Public Works website itself, because I don't have control of the whole thing. So at least on the Public Works website, I do have links where the public is able to click on it and find it in the app, either at the Apple Store or Google Play. And so I put it on that website as well as our main page, as well as on the O&M side of things, where a lot of the activity goes. Because when you see something on the street, like if there's a pothole or a spill or something, it's usually O&M that goes out there and cleans it up. So I have the links there too as well.
Awesome.
So. Now, there was a question about one of our residents It was at 3060 Pepper Tree Lane. She complained about the water flows in her driveway. She said she had potholes out in front of it. The potholes were addressed, and but her CRM is still open right now, but it's due to be resolved by the 15th of this month. Okay, so it's pending. It's kind of in line for as a part of our to-do list, our large to-do list as far as taking care of street maintenance. There was another one regarding the weed abatement for Pepper Tree Lane, and that was on the side that we were discussing about the no parking zones, because there are houses on one side, it's all in an L shape, and there's houses on one side, and then it's just kind of open, and there's a golf course on the other side. And so what I wanted to explain, and also this is kind of part of my answer to Mr. Roberson, you were asking like how's the whole process with weed abatement work. For that particular crew that we have in forestry, it's fairly new, and so a lot of things we're kind of fixing how our processes are going as we're going along. And so right now we have a crew of 3. So there's 3 guys taking care of the whole city that are cutting trees, cleaning up the weeds on the side of the road. So they're doing the best they can with the labor that they have. So that's why it's very important for residents to use that CRM app to, if they do see, a vacant lot with weeds, or if they do like a side of the road, then they need to report it on that app, so that way they can put it in their queue and then go around and, so when they get to it, they get to it. There's been a number of trees and different things that I've reported myself, and they've been on top of it. Like this new crew has really been on top of it. For as few as they are, they've been doing their best. And so they did put that, they did remove weeds and low-hanging limbs from those trees on Pepper Tree Lane. They did that on 4/25, so last month. There was a request by Traffic Division, our guys who were just here. They put in the request to CEE, to Southern California Edison, to trim the trees around the light posts. They will keep following up with SCE, but they kind of have a reputation to take their time getting around to it. So we'll do our best what we can with SCE. But in the meantime, our O&M Forestry Division, they're going to put maintenance of those trees on their annual. They're going to trim them annually. Okay, so they're on their to-do list. That's great. Okay, until we can get SCE on a regular routine and schedule to do it themselves, and the city itself is going to just maintain them once a year.
Oh, good.
Okay. Now, there was also a question about the tree that is on it's Pepper Tree Lane and North Road, and that was the one that was growing out into the street, and it broke the curb and everything. So I talked to our forestry supervisor, and he said that the assessment of the tree, it does have, they can crown it and help smooth it out and repair the curb, but they need to have the curb addressed first. So if we can, and it might be able to be done this fiscal year, and it might not be able to, because we're all kind of towards the end of the year, we're all waiting for that rollover so we can get our new budget and put things on the list so we can address them. So for this particular thing, our forestry supervisor said he's going to work with the guy who actually does repair the curbs to try to get that area addressed and worked on. Okay, so like I said, it'll have maybe this fiscal year, but probably next fiscal year, but they are aware of it. Okay. Another thing about the weed abatement when it comes to different parts of the city, it makes a difference between if it's weeds on the side of the road, like the sidewalk, or if it's like an empty lot. So if it's on, like weeds on the side of the sidewalk, or like on the edge, like where Pepper Tree Lane is, that's our forestry crew of our 3 guys that go out there and do that. And then if it's like a big open lot that is on city property, that's an entirely different crew that works on it. So it does matter if it's on the side of the road or if it's a big open field that's city-owned property. Oh, they're shutting the lights off. And then, of course, again, like I told you guys last time, it also matters if the property that it's on is privately owned, or if it's a city property. If it's privately owned, then again, residents can use that app, and that property, it'll go to code enforcement, who's up here, and code enforcement will do whatever their process is to get that land cleared. And like I said, the time that it gets addressed depends on whether it's code or whether it's public works. Okay, and then now we had to address the issue with the street sweepers. And I actually brought you guys some handouts that I want you. Yes?
What's the current turnaround time for the weed abatement, being that there's only 3 people?
They are, the turnaround time, I can't give you an estimate. However, when a CRM is put in, it does give you a date by when it should be resolved. So whenever you put in a CRM on the online system, it'll say, okay, we have up until this date to get it resolved. If you see something that's not being resolved by that time, because typically they usually do, but if it's not resolved by that time, then you can go ahead and address the city. Usually, if they know that it's going to run over or if it's not going to get done within the amount of time, they do respond to you, either through email or however information they, whatever sort of contact information that you left on that CRM. They'll say, you know, okay, it's on our, you know, it's pending. We'll get to it by this such and such time, or we're waiting for this or something. They'll respond to you, and you can literally have a back and forth conversation over email with whoever that CRM's been assigned to. Okay, so about the street sweeping. So I found out that the street sweepers are supposed to go by twice a month. And for that particular area on Pepper Tree Lane, it's the 2nd and 4th week of the month, 2nd and 4th week of the month. And that's per contract that we have with Burtec. So, and sometimes I know residents may get confused, especially if it's one of those months that has like a 5-week.
Yeah.
But it's only supposed to be twice a month that the street sweeper comes by.
This is focused on Pepper and Marshall, but is that the entire city?
No. This is in regards to the last meeting that we had. We had issues, and then there was a lot of residents here that had questions, and I had to come back.
Just wanted to clarify.
No problem. So, if you look at the first page, it shows you the 2 months that they were there, and it shows you that the route the truck took, and the brushes were down, so that they went through there. Through those 2 months. And you might notice on that there's only one for March. And I did question that, and I was like, where's the second one, the first time that they went through for March? And so I'm going to have my, or at least I have my environmentalist that I work with. She's going to follow up and find out why there's no data for the other month. So it's possible, not saying it is, but it's possible that either they did skip that week, but it could be for something as simple as a mechanical failure with the truck. So we're following up on that and getting more information. And if you continue for the next pages, we see the twice that they went through in April, and where the truck went and covered all of those areas. So the street sweeper is coming by on schedule, scheduled as it's supposed to. It's just, we're just questioning that 1 month, and then I can follow up on that. All right.
Commissioner Serrano.
I have a question.
Yes.
How are they documenting their coming? Because that house right there is mine, and I have 15 cameras. And once we met with you, they did come, but they usually come Mondays. I don't know what day this is, but how are they tracking that they're coming? Because the neighbors came to me because had they been coming, you wouldn't have seen all that trash. It's cleaned up now, but I'm wondering how are they giving you?
This is GPS data of the actual truck going through.
It's showing.
It's all tracked, and it says whether or not they had their brushes down and operating as they were supposed to. So that's what you're looking at here. I'm sorry, I probably should have explained that at the beginning. Because you're looking at a map of Pepper Tree Lane, and that's the route that the truck took, the GPS data. And then on the last page. This is Pepper Tree and Marshall, what it looked like after the street sweepers went through on the 24th. Yeah. The street sweepers are due to come back today. I was trying to get those pictures, like up-to-date pictures for today, but I couldn't get them in time. But that's that's, it's just to show that they've been cleaning it up.
Yeah, I did see it.
And they usually come in the afternoon, I was told. They're supposed to come in the afternoon down that street towards.
Well, they were coming in the morning months before, and then stopped. So I didn't know what their new schedule was.
Yeah, so apparently it's second and fourth week of the month, and then in the afternoon.
They're saying afternoon. Okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner Correa?
That's your area, right, Commissioner Cervantes?
Uh-huh.
Do you want a couple more to maybe hand out?
Well, that's what my next question is. You know how we're getting these reports from, at least I have a meeting on Thursday, like the whole encampment. Is there, when I get something from this meeting, do you know, Susie, can I discuss it?
Sure.
It's public information.
So I can
Public
have it.
information, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But do you want a couple, she's got a couple more of these.
can
if
have
you
it,
want
it's
them.
Where I can get
If it's
it to
your
the
area.
neighbors that were there
Yeah, go ahead, you can take
at
that.
the meeting, so that I can, if you don't need them, yeah. I think it'll kind of show that they tracked them and, you know what I mean? That we're doing what.
Yeah, something that you can show. Yeah, something you can show. That's totally fine.
Okay, one more question. Is Burtech doing all the street sweeping in San Diego?
Okay, so Vertec, they actually, they're not doing the street sweeping. It's another company, I believe, called
They sell.
Clean Street.
Okay.
And that's where I think they're contracted out through Vertec, or we're contracting, I'm not sure, don't quote me.
Okay.
But with that, with them, they are, let's see. Yeah, they're contracted with Vertec, that's what it is. I have it in my
So it's
notes.
really not a Burtech truck we're seeing, because
No, it's not a Vertec truck. It's another organization that's contracted through Vertec to do that. And also, my environmental program coordinator, she said that like if you do have a problem with this, like you notice that the street sweeper hasn't come through, or there's a problem or anything like that, you can contact her. I put her email at the bottom of this, so that way, if you're having an issue with street sweeping, contact her. She can follow up with it.
Okay. Because my comment to that is, they come religiously to my house, but I'm out there right after they leave, because they don't use water. And they throw all the gravel on all my driveway and my sidewalk, and I have to clean it. They don't use water. I mean, it's you're doing street sweeping without water. You know, all you're doing is tossing it around. You're not really
You can
cleaning
follow up
it.
with Leslie, and then
Okay.
she'll
And that's
Leslie
this email here,
Graciano.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's her email right there.
Awesome.
Okay, and then the last thing that I had, some of the other items that you guys were talking about, as far as like, street safe, or at least with the trees and the weed abatement. As I mentioned before, some of it is, we are waiting for the new fiscal year to address all of those issues. So, just so you know, we're not sitting on our hands and not doing anything. It's just we're waiting on that budget.
Awesome.
So the last thing, last time I mentioned when I was here, is that we are going to do an appreciation event for Public Works.
Yeah.
So or at least I am putting together a nice little video piece for our staff members. We're basically going to just say thank you for their service and what they've all done for us and everything. And I wanted to ask if it was possible that I could get either a sound bite or a video clip that I can put into this appreciation video that I'm collaborating with. And then also, like, if you knew of any residents that were around that want to say something, like I said, they don't have to be on video, it could just be a sound bite. I would like to have that in either, if you need me to meet with them, then that's fine, or you can just record it and send it to me, and that way I can put it in the video. Our celebration with this video is going to be shown on the 24th, and then we're also going to have, the Public Works Week is from the 22nd to the 26th of this month, and that video is going to be shown on the 24th to our team. So if you have anything that I can get to use to put in the video to show them while they're enjoying their meals and such, and the rewards we give them and everything, you can I can play that video for them.
Where's the appreciation, man? I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Commissioner Correa?
Where's that appreciation?
It's going to be at our city yard, so it's 182 South Sierra Way, and we're going to do a nice luncheon for them. And then it'll be in what we call the Blue Room, but it's more of a kind of a cafeteria type area.
And is it open to the public? Or no?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I believe it's.
Okay.
So. But you're welcome to come in and say a few words if you'd like to. Okay, so I believe that's all I have for announcements. So if you want to stay after, and like I said, I can get the soundbite or video, I'll be happy to.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Next agenda item, Items to be considered for future agendas. I know I have one I want to make a motion for, and that's the final design review for the traffic speed reduction measures for 40th Street to Valencia to Conejo Drive.
So that is going to be placed on the agenda next month because they'll do
Yeah,
an
do it
update on
anyway.
it, and then you can make your motion for
Okay,
that.
perfect. Okay, thank you. Any other future agenda items? I adjourn this meeting at 8:14 p.m. Thank
There you go. You're home before 9. Kids will make you awake.